Good morning, LaPerla neighbors. Steve Dombrower again, coming at you once again from my office in beautiful Melville, New York on Long Island. As you can see behind me, it's just another beautiful day here in New York. And I hope whether you're in Miami or wherever you call home, you had a phenomenal weekend, and today is just as nice wherever you are as it is here on Long Island. Anyway, I wanted to get with all of my neighbors once again just for a few minutes to talk about what has seemed to become a bigger issue than we hoped it would be with this election coming up in, I believe, what are we, 16 days away, give or take. Parking. So, the upshot here is the current board majority a year ago went out making phone calls to all those affected by parking, in essence, either promising or assuring or using some other verbiage that they're going to go ahead and be able to protect your parking if they were elected. As is evident, even with the board majority that they've had over the past year, they've accomplished basically nothing when it came to protecting anybody's parking that might be in question. In fact, in many ways, it's been made worse by the constant arguing between our parking committee and our current board secretary. Our current board secretary is as evident from the last board meeting. You can all look at the video, the constant arguing with our own association's attorney on what can work and what's not going to work. We also know that in these last 2 weeks of the campaign before the election, the current board secretary is reaching out to those again affected with parking, likely making those same assurances. Here this morning to let you know, don't believe it. It's not going to happen. Our board secretary, along with her majority, has been completely unsuccessful in doing it this past year. So you should know that there's no way they're going to be able to do it again the way that they want to do it. So that's the first thing you need to understand, and we all need to appreciate, let alone the fact that all 5 of the LaPerla United slate, all 5 of them have parking that is in question, which means all 5 of them have big conflicts of interest. This cannot be forgotten. The second thing I'd like to address for everyone this morning is the question around the LaPerla First slate and our view of parking and what are we going to do about it. And I can give you a 65,000 foot view on that, and I'll explain to you in a minute why I cannot really give you specific details. First and foremost, however, nothing will get done to fix the parking situation for those currently affected or anybody else in the building without an amendment to our declaration that will actually allow our association and board to step into the shoes of the developer. This cannot be done. I don't care what the other slate says. This has been vetted by legal counsel. We actually had a former attorney resign because that was his opinion, and our current board secretary kept fighting that opinion. It's not going to happen without a proper amendment to the declaration of condominium. So we need to get that done. How do we get that done? We've talked about this before. Electronic voting is the only way we will be able to secure a supermajority, which means 2/3 of our units voting to pass an amendment. We've all seen what's currently going on with the election, the ballots, the errors made by FSR in mailing, the confusion by many people having to deal with emailed ballots and their own envelopes. Cannot do this paper thing going forward. And again, this is not now about our election. This is about getting a supermajority to pass an amendment. So I can promise you that within the first 30 to 60 days, running the LaPerla board, representing all of you, we will pass a resolution, have legal counsel write that resolution up, and install electronic voting for our community so we can get an amendment to help fix these parking issues. So, in terms of the parking issues, again, I can give you a 65,000 foot view of what we're looking to do. The goal is fair and equitable resolutions for everyone that has a current issue with parking. These resolutions will not include confiscating spaces. We are not interested in lawsuits. We've already seen what can happen when a lawsuit comes to be. For instance, the current lawsuit from one of our current owners against our board director, Bernice Bloom-Bart, as well as former President Roberto Rodriguez, former building manager Stephen Walsh, and I believe another person. They wrapped the association, the current association, into that lawsuit. So this notion of saying to an owner, well, if you have bad parking that you purchased from some other owner, you should go sue the person that sold you the unit with the bad parking. Yeah, that's one way to go, but the association will likely always be named in those lawsuits. And the last thing we want to do is have the association rolled up in tons of lawsuits that could potentially cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars. We're not looking to bankrupt the building. It's not the way to go. We have several different types of scenarios in the building, ranging from the innocent victim who bought something that they thought was legitimate to spaces, valet spaces that are being used as self-parking, to situations where it's almost impossible to trace back the documents. Many different scenarios, but our plan does not include confiscation. It includes working with each individual case, owner by owner, to come to a resolution that works for everyone. Part of what we're also looking to do, in the interest of the entire building, is open up some self-parking to owners that currently do not have self-parking that might want to have self-parking, either by purchasing a spot maybe at current market rates, or maybe even renting self-parking spaces. All of these are the ideas that we have, and none of them include confiscating spaces. I cannot go into very specific details about these plans. All I can tell you is no promise can be made by anyone at this time, because even though we feel our ideas are great ideas, we need the amendment to the declaration, and our ideas also need to be vetted by legal counsel. I can go on to say that if our ideas come to fruition, they will very likely lead to increased revenue for LaPerla as a building, and at the same time cut back on our current valet volume, which would cut back on the congestion that many of us, including myself, feel when we're valet parking our car. And if that happens, in parallel, it will likely cut back on our valet expense. And as many of you know, our valet expense is close to $500,000 a year. I believe it's the second largest line item on the budget. So to summarize, your LaPerla United slate that's currently making phone calls to people assuring them that they're going to protect their parking, all 5 of them have parking conflicts. That board majority has had all year to come through on the promises they made last year. They're going to promise the same thing this year, and I can assure you it's not going to happen. The LaPerla First slate has a plan that includes electronic voting, so we can run an amendment, get it approved, and start working with individual cases in a fair and equitable way that works for everyone, including bringing more income and less valet congestion and less valet cost to the entire building. I'll close the same way that I always close. All 5 of us on the LaPerla First slate are available to speak with anyone who wants to talk to us in detail. Our personal telephone numbers are listed on every email we send out. They are on our resumes, on our website. So are our personal email addresses. Please feel free, call us, email us. We're happy to talk about any of these issues and any other issues that you would like to chat about. In the meantime, as I always say, get the vote out. We've got 16 days. We need as many owners at LaPerla engaged in the process as possible. Have a fantastic day.